Hey everybody, this is Steven from PopCultureMaven.com. We're back with this week's new comic book reviews and yet another freaking big pile of books. So let's just get right to it. First up, we have the new champion of Shazam, #1. Written by Josie Campbell with artwork by Evan Doc Shaner. So what this is, so apparently, because I don't read Titans Academy, that Billy Batson has lost the power of Shazam as well as the other family members. But so Mary Marvel is off to college and she's going to Vassar. And so when she gets there, she meets her new roommates, and one of them happens to have a rabbit, and the rabbit's named Hoppy, which goes back to the original Fawcett Captain Marvel run. There was basically Captain Marvel Bunny, and so it's bravo to tip of the hat to Campbell for putting that little nod and wink in there. So she's going to the orientation, and Hoppity happens. She has the bunny with her, and the bunny starts talking to her, and so the bunny tells her, hey, you now have all the power of Shazam. You have all the family members' powers, so it's not actually split. So the bunny transports her back home to battle a villain, and she finds out while battling villain, not only does she have the power, she has the power of all the 5 families, so she's really like, she has to kind of dial it back a little bit because she can gets crazy. So that's the basic setup there, that she now that she's kind of the Shazam, so she has to, the question is she wants to be in college, but and she's not opposed to being a superhero, but that's not really what she wants to do right now, because Billy was handling everything. So now she has to do it. So that's kind of the crux of the setup of the story. Really, for me, the big win is Josie Campbell. The story is really good, but really for me, the main reason I bought this was because of Evan Doc Shaner. He's such a great artist, and he's really the perfect artist for Shazam and any Captain Marvel book. And the way he draws Mary is just absolutely gorgeous, because he also gets what how Captain Marvel, the original artist, was CC Beck, and he's not trying to imitate CC Beck, but I think he captures that spirit of Beck's artwork, the kind of simplistic style, but the way he just draws it really has just a great humanity to it, and it's a really great looking book. And he was also, there was a 2-issue Shazam convergence story a number of years back when DC moved to California. They had intern books while they were moving, so they were already done, and Shaner did the two Shazam stories that were absolutely amazing. So when I heard he was doing this, I'm like, okay, well, there's a match made in heaven. The question is the story going to be good? And I gladly say that Campbell has stepped up to the plate and done a wonderful job on the story. I really, really enjoyed this. It's a fun book. It really has a great charm to it. And it really has that feel of like the original Shazam books, and I love it, and I'm excited to see where it goes. So we'll see, fingers crossed. But like I said, the first issue was really good out of the gate, so fingers crossed we'll keep it going. But I love the story, love the art. Definitely a big win this week. Definitely a must pick up. Next up, we have Golden Rage #1, written by Chrissy Williams, with artwork by Lauren Knight. So I will try to explain the basic premise, because there really wasn't much of a premise here. So there's this island with older women, and at the beginning there's apparently something going on, and Rosie basically grabs this young girl, Jay, takes her back to the house where she lives with Caroline and Lottie. They're older women, so apparently this island is just inhabited by older women, but I'm not sure because there really wasn't anything explained in the story. And really why are they there, what's going on, is not explained at all. So there's really almost no explanation for anything except for that Jay should be on the island because apparently young people are not there. That's the best I can really discern from this, it's not even that the story is a mess. There is really no story here, and unfortunately Williams just sadly just drops the ball in this book, because you don't really get to know the characters. It's all really surface stuff, and there's really no explanation of what's going on, and that you can get away with that, but there has to be something you can latch onto, whether it's a character or something part of the story, and unfortunately Williams doesn't give you either here. Knight's artwork is nice. I wouldn't say that it blew me away or anything. She did a decent job, but once again, it's not like she had a lot to work with there. So this is a big pass. This book is just, it's not very good. Next up we have Dark Crisis #3, written by Joshua Williamson, with pencils by Daniel Sampre, with inks by Sampre, Daniel Henriquez, and Danny Mickey. So once again, the Justice League is supposedly dead. Yeah, right. And so we had last issue where Deathstroke has gathered a lot of the villains. They attacked Titan's Tower. It did not go well for the Titans. Beast Boy is in a coma. It's not looking good. So basically the younger heroes that are left are kind of in disarray right now. And so you have the only member of the Justice League that's left is Black Adam, and his whole thing is like, let's just go kill him. And they're like, no, let's kill him. But wait, no, let's go kill him. So they basically talk him down from the ledge, cause he's going to kill Count Vertigo. And so, they basically, they need to kind of step up and be the Justice League, but it's not so much they're fighting, they're just not ready for it. So that's an interesting part. And then you also have the Green Lantern Corps that have discovered that there's a Black Lantern. And so 3 of them go in to try to, try to find the Justice League and find out what's going on. There's that part of the story. And so basically we're moving along here pretty well. Once again, I'm not a big Event Comics fan. This has actually been pretty decent. I wouldn't say it's better than average, but it's not necessarily blowing me away. I don't think it's anything we necessarily needed, but we'll see. Williamson is moving the story along pretty well, and it's moving along at a nice pace. I'm enjoying what he's doing. Sam Pre's artwork is really, really nice. He's really doing a good job, and bravo to 3 inkers, because I didn't really see really any noticeable changes in any of the pages. So kudos for the other 2 inkers. They kept it really consistent. It's a really good looking book. We'll kind of keep seeing where it's going. Like I said, I'm liking it. I'm not necessarily, it's not bowling me over, but I'm enjoying it for what it is. Next up we have Demon Wars, The Iron Samurai, #1, written and drawn by Peach Momoko, with co-scripting by Zach Davidson. So this is a sequel to the previous one-shots that Momoko did. And so you have Mariko, who is the girl from those storylines. Now it does help if you've read those, but I don't think it's necessary, because so basically what it is, she's having nightmares, and some of this is it could be nightmares from her finding about her mother, and her fighting with her sister, and all the weird Marvel demons that were in the specials. But once again, it does help, I think, if you read that, but I don't think it's entirely hugely necessary for reading this story. So what it is she basically kind of discovers this kind of, I guess you could say, like Narnia type door, where she goes to another dimension where she's a princess, and they've been waiting for her because there's a crisis that they've captured the Venom demon, and it looks like he's getting ready to break out. So it's supposedly the theory is that she's going to help them do this. So So that's the basic structure of this. Once again, part of the reason you buy this is because of Momoko's gorgeous artwork. She's a really wonderful artist. The story is actually quite good. I love how she did with the standalone books, kind of melding Japanese mythology with Marvel characters, and she did a wonderful job on that. And she's doing a really good job here. I think they're really nice. They're great looking books with actually really solid stories. So I think it's worth checking out. Next up, we have Batman 126, written by Chip Zdarsky with artwork by George Jimenez, and then there's a backup story with Catwoman by Zdarsky and artwork by Belen Ortega. So we have in this new issue a new villain, we think, is Failsafe. So basically the best way to describe him, he's the Terminator coming after Batman. It's really that simple. It's some sort of robot, and he beats the living crap out of Bruce. Bruce gets taken down pretty bad. The other Bat family comes in, tries to go after Failsafe. It does not go well for them. They don't get beat up as bad, but they get their ass kicked too. And so Robin gets Bruce back to the Batcave. He's not doing well, but he's hanging in there. And so we still don't quite know, obviously this is a setup, and it's the first appearance of this. Well, he kind of showed up at the end of last issue, but why he's after Batman, we have no idea. So while I didn't really the last issue, which was Zdarsky's first, really popped. It really was a good first issue. Now, it's not that this is bad. This is just kind of a setup to where he's going to go with the story, because there's threads from the story from that last issue. So we'll kind of see. Like I said, it wasn't as like it didn't pop as well as I think this first issue, but that's not saying it's bad. It's just that he's building a story, and that's a good thing. Jimenez this is a great looking book. He's a brilliant artist, and it's really it's good stuff. And I like where Zdarsky's taking this. We'll kind of see. The backup story is actually quite interesting. So with the death of the Penguin, sorry, a bit of a spoiler, but it's been a month since we've had this issue. So if boohoo on you. But so she has to go find the 7 illegitimate kids, and as she finds them, they're dead. They're being killed, and so the last one she finds, she almost saves him, but doesn't quite. And then so she goes back to the attorney who has tasked her to find them because of the will. Basically, this daughter of Penguin shows up. And so, but she discovers that maybe this daughter had something to do with the killing of the other kids. So that's what has happened this issue. It's really interesting. I do like that backup, and I like the fact that it ties in to the main storyline, but is separate. And having Zdarsky writing them both is always a plus, because usually the backup is written by, it's very separate from the main one. So I think this is actually working really well. Ortega's artwork's really nice on the Catwoman story. I still think it's worth checking out. Like I said, I wasn't blown away by this second issue, but it was good, solid second outing for it. Next up, we have Survival Street #1. Written by James Asmus, with Jim Festaint, with artwork by Ablay Kurzanoff. So basic, what it is in 2025, corporations were basically allowed to be to elect candidates and stuff. So obviously, being corporations with lots of money, they took over the political system. So by 2028, they have taken over states. They have taken over the government. Corporations run the United States. So it starts off, they're filming quote unquote Sesame Street. So you have all these puppets. And the government comes in and shuts the puppet shows down. So that takes place earlier, and then in the present day of this story, they're kind of like, they're mercenary, or not really mercenaries, but they're rebels, and so they're trying to take down the political corporation system. And So what it is there is a auction for kids. So instead of adopting kids, you can just buy kids because you're rich and the government doesn't care because there's no laws anymore. And so basically the Muppets are going to Florida to rescue them. And while I think the concept here is really interesting and I think it could go somewhere, I wouldn't say that it really the story itself was pretty basic. It was just like I said, I think the concept was a little bit better than the execution. Not that it was that bad, but it just like when you get done reading the first issue, you're like, okay, this is nice, but it wasn't anything that really stuck with you beyond the premise of like the Muppets gone rogue. But what really unfortunately kind of hurt this was the artwork by Kazanov. It's not terrible, but it's just really inconsistent and it's very basic. There's times where it's really rough, and so you have the story that it needs some help, and then you have the artwork that really just kind of sinks it from there, and it's not terrible. It never quite goes anywhere and never quite takes off. So it's kind of a disappointment this week, and I'd say it's kind of a pass. Or it is a pass. Next up, we have New Fantastic Four, number 3, written by Peter David with artwork by Alan Robinson. So we have the Fantastic Four are back in Vegas. The people are possessed, so they're trying to do crowd control. Wolverine just wants to kill everybody, and they're like, nah, you can't quite do that. They're only possessed. They're not really. And the Human Torch has been possessed. So there's that going on. Ghost Rider has been captured by the head demon, and so the preacher who can make wishes or can, once he makes a wish or says something, it can happen. He goes to rescue Ghost Rider, so they're off and they're coming back to Vegas. And so then you also have, what's interesting is Peter David has actually brought the real Fantastic Four into the story and saying, hey, there's something going on with Johnny in Vegas. It's getting kind of crazy. We might want to go out there, so we'll see where that goes. Plus you have Johnny fighting the Fantastic Four. It's pretty wild stuff. Honestly, it's just fun. This is one of those books that the David is actually perfect for, and he just nails it because it's not trying to be more than what it is. It's like, here's the basic premise. This is what we're doing, and here we go. And he's sticking with that, and it's working really well. So it's a lot of fun, and I'm enjoying it. And then Robinson's artwork's really nice. It's a really good looking book. It's just fun. And sometimes a fun book is sometimes that's what you need. Next up, we have Harley Quinn, number 18, written by Stephanie Phillips with artwork by Georges Duarte. So what this is it is kind of a tie into Dark Crisis, but I don't think you need to be reading Dark Crisis to read this. And I don't think if you're reading Dark Crisis, you necessarily need to read this. You should ultimately want to read this because you like Harley Quinn. So what Phillips is doing is it's set up to where these villains are chasing Harley and they're trying to capture her. We think they might want to kill her, but then we find out that Lucius Fox has sent them to get her, not to really kidnap her. They kind of F that up. And so what it is because this does take place in the Dark Crisis continuity, that Lucius Fox has built a spaceship because he's getting this group together to go to the moon where there's a Justice League outpost, and he needs some technology that they have there. So that's why he's sending Harley and teams into space, or sending them to the moon to get stuff for Lucius so he can basically defend the Earth, is what he's trying to do. I'll be honest, I wasn't really overwhelmed with the first run or the first story arc that Phillips did. I did like this story. I think it had good focus. But she does capture the fun of Harley pretty well. I think Duarte's artwork really does help. Now this is going to be part of a weekly series. I think this is leading up to her, I believe, 30th anniversary. So that's what this is kind of leading up to. like I said, I don't think you don't need to be reading Dark Crisis. This does stand on its own, and anything that is Dark Crisis that Phillips explains it pretty well. I wasn't necessarily overwhelmed, but I think there's some good ideas. I mean, you've got her and a ragtag team, and she grabs Solomon Grundy to go with her, so that ought to be a real hoot. So it'll be interesting when they get to the moon and see what kind of mayhem they start. So we'll see what happens. Like, I liked it, didn't love it, but I did like it. Next up, we have Sacrament #1, written by Peter Milligan, with artwork by Marcelo Fruzen. So what it is religion has basically been banned. Nobody's on Earth anymore. They're all on colonies and stuff. So the Vatican is now on a spaceship that floats around because they don't want to get caught. And so so this story is about this preacher who is kind of losing his faith. I mean, he still goes to colonies, but when he goes there, there's like 5 people that show up to be blessed. So he's kind of like, well, what's the point of this? And he's just really not sure if he even wants to do this anymore. So what it is they're not allowed to have religion. So if they get caught, they'll go to jail. So so when they go to a colony, they're like, oh crap, we gotta go because the cops are coming. And so what it is, so then within part of the story is, like the head of the government, like, hey, we're trying to find this preacher, blah, blah, blah. And they start having these crucifixions, but they're upside down crucifixions. So what it is the priest gets captured, but instead of going to jail, they actually take him to this, where these crucifixions are happening. And they're like, we need your help. Basically, so religion is banned, but they need his help. So it's really kind of an interesting concept. I have to give Milligan that he always, his ideas are great. Sometimes the execution is always a little iffy, but the concepts are good. In this case, the concept is good and the execution is good. I think there's a lot of promise here. I think it's really intriguing what he's doing. So we'll kind of see where that ends up. And Frizen's artwork's nice. It's a good looking book. It's something a little different. And we'll kind of see where it goes, but I think it's worth checking out this week. Next up we have Batman White Knight presents Red Hood #1, written with story by Sean Murphy, with a script by Clay McCormick. The first 5 pages is artwork is done by Simone DeMio. And then it appears, because it doesn't really have a credit, it appears that Sean Murphy does draw the rest of the book. So what it is DeMio's is a flashback of where Robin actually, he gets captured by the Joker, and it's kind of like, well, Jason Todd, and instead of Joker killing him, he spills the beans that Bruce Wayne is Batman, so he actually lets him go because it's like, I can't do anything worse than you just spilling the beans on Batman. So that's the basic premise of the past that leads up. Now, this is a side story that goes with the Batman Beyond White Knight that is currently going on. So what's interesting is this is, so Red Hood is like a cop, or he is a cop. And so this is a side story where he discovers that there's this girl being Robin, and she's not necessarily being a superhero. She's just doing things like helping people across the street, just small things, but like helping people. And so what he ends up doing is he actually wants to train her to like kind of be Robin. It's like, you need training. I like what you're doing. And it's interesting because he doesn't want to be Robin anymore. So it's I think that's the interesting part of the story, is like, why is he actually doing this if he doesn't want to kind of be that again? So that's an interesting part of his story. And the girl is just a lot of fun. She's really interesting. I like this. I do think it helps. I think you really need to be reading the Beyond Batman, or Batman Beyond story that he's doing in the White Knight. But this does stand on its own pretty well. But and once again, the story's really good. The artworks are really amazing for both of them. I really enjoyed it. I love the White Knight book, so it's kind of a win all around for me. Next up, we have The Dead Lucky #1, written by Melissa Flores, with artwork by French Carlo Mangon. So what this is, so you have this a war veteran, Babina, where she's going to a psychologist, post PSTD, and so she has these dreams of her kind of being a superhero. So it's like, is this a good thing? Is this a bad thing? And so she's going back. She's living, going back home to San Francisco, where San Francisco has been basically taken over by the Morrow Corporation, who has turned it into like a somewhat of a police state. They're running it. They're trying to make money off of it probably, and so she lives in Chinatown, or she's going back home. She meets up with her friend Eddie, who is he built this giant robot. And what it is, so the corporation's trying to not so much the Salvation gangs are basically in theory, the Morrow says, oh, they're bad, but it's very possible that they're actually trying to basically get rid, trying to help people, hence the name Salvation Gang. And so what it is they come out, they attack the policeman and the Morrow Corporation rep. And so Babina gets in the suit and goes after him and everything. And that's the basic story here. It's one of those things. It's the story is pretty basic here. I don't think it's bad. I think it's just okay. And it really, I don't think it brought a lot of new to the table. I mean, most of the stuff is pretty basic storytelling that we've read a million times. I don't think there was a huge twist to it. And I think that's where, for me, the book kind of struggled a bit. Carla Magon artwork is nice. It gets the job done, but it doesn't really pop. I think it's decent. It's just overall, I think that it's okay. And unfortunately, part of the problem with so many comics coming out, I just don't think it's good enough. Once again, I don't think it's bad. I just don't think there wasn't any hook that really made me like, wow, I want to really read the second issue. It just wasn't there for that. Next up, we have Poison Ivy #3, written by G. Willow Wilson, with artwork by Marcio Takara. So we know that Ivy she's kind of killing people with this fungus, but we kind of also learn that this issue that the fungus is actually trying to kill her. So the thing is, we're not quite sure where, is she? So we know that she's dying, or this thing is kind of attacking her, but because of her plant immunity, it's holding it off. Now it's not killing it, it's holding it off. So this issue is really a good turning point for the book, because she's staying at a bed and breakfast, and the lady who runs it is trying to like take this lot of hers and try to turn it into a nice garden. Of course, that's Ivy's, she's got a green thumb. And so it really is interesting because we kind of learn that in a way, we don't know that she's actually like trying to kill people on purpose. Like, we now discover that it's this fungus is not necessarily, that's what has been taking, when they touch her, she touches somebody, that's what happens to them. But that's an interesting twist that Wilson does here is, it's not like, is she doing it on purpose? I mean, what is really going on? And this kind of answers the question, but really opens up to like, what is going on with Ivy? And it's really a great story moment for this storyline. It really changes the game here to where what is she really doing? Why is she going on this road trip to these different places? Is that's now the question. I'm really loving this book. Wilson is just knocking out of the park. She really captures Ivy really well, because Ivy's always been a character that's not, I don't think she's really a villain. She's obviously not a hero. She's really a gray area character, and Wilson really nails it with this story. And Takara's artwork, this is a gorgeous looking book. This is really, I love this book, and it's getting better and better with each issue. It's definitely well worth checking out and a must buy this week. Next up, we have The Vineyard #1, written by Brian Hawks, with artwork by Sammy Kivla. So really to distill the basic story, if you've seen the movie Motel Hell, it's very similar to that, but instead of the motels kidnapping kids and using them to make their meat, what it is there's this, basically, I guess you could say, spirit or something, or a tree. So what it is these people who own this vineyard, once a year they have to kill 4 people as sacrifices for this wood god, and in turn they're able to make like the best wine in the world. And so it starts off with the wife is trying to sacrifice. She can't do it. The son comes in, takes care of it. And so the husband, who is wheelchair bound, is like, you really need, like, you had the opportunity to step up the plate, to keep the good times going for our vineyard, and you didn't do it. So now the son has to, really step up to the plate because you didn't. And so we also find out that there is there's a daughter who's estranged, because obviously she was not a big fan. She found out what was going on with mom, with dad. And so that's kind of the basic premise here. And it's really, I think, interesting. I think the concept's good. This first issue does a nice job with the exposition, because there's a lot to explain. But Hawkins moves it along pretty well, and he does give you a reason to come back to check it out. I think the premise is good, not necessarily original, but he gives it a nice twist. And then Kivla's artwork is really nice. It's something worth checking it out. I think it's worth especially if you're a horror fan. It's a good horror book, and I liked a lot of it. So I think we'll kind of see where the second issue goes, but I like the first issue on this. Next up, we have Swords of Azrael #1, written by Dan Waters, with artwork by Nikola Shiminska. So this basically comes out of the Arkham Asylum miniseries that Walter wrote, that Danny did the artwork. And so what it is Azrael's kind of a Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde. So, the Mr. Hyde part is Azrael, and what it is his, he's a monk. And so what it is the monk is not, he's not necessarily a mousy guy, but he doesn't want to be Azrael per se. So he's kind of like, it's kind of that split personality thing in some respects. And so what it is he's on an island monastery, and this woman shows up saying that she's being attacked, and people around her are getting killed because they're trying to kill her. And so, but she's looking for him. And so she says, "Hey, I'm looking for this guy." "Oh, you're that guy." And so that's kind of the basic premise. And then so we find out that it's actually Bane's daughter that's chasing her. And then we find out that things with the woman is not quite what they seem. And so we find out why she's really looking for Azrael. I will not give that part of the story away, but I think it's really interesting. I think there's it's a setup story, but I think what Waters does really, I think, is how he handles that split personality of Azrael. He does that quite nicely. The other thing that I really enjoyed about it was the artwork. Szymanski's artwork is really nice, and some of his layouts were absolutely amazing. The way he used, because a lot of it's basic, but then there's a couple times where it's just the layouts were amazing. I liked it. I wasn't necessarily blown away, but I think it's a solid start. We'll kind of see where the second issue goes. But like I said, I think it's off to a decent start. If you're a fan of Azrael, I think it's worth checking out. And we'll see where it goes. Next up, we have Spider-Punk #4, written by Cody Ziegler, with artwork by Justin Mason. So I'm still digging this book. I like it. It really has a fun kinetic energy. So they have been they're now in Washington D.C. They're looking for Norman Osborn, who is apparently behind a lot of this stuff that's going on. And so when they find out, they think, oh, we're gonna get there, we're gonna find the computer, we're gonna learn all this stuff. They find out it's actually a trap set by Norman, and they get their ass handed to them on a plate. It does not go well for the band. And so that is the basic structure of this issue. This is kind of a middle issue of the book, so it's like there's the story's moving along, but it's kind of that middle part where we're learning certain things, but it's really going to lead up to where this first story arc is going. And so once again, I'm still enjoying the book. I think Ziegler's doing it really is a lot of fun. I think it really has a nice charm and kinetic energy to it. That I'm enjoying, and I love Mason's art. It's just really, it's very different, but it's fun, and it's just a fun book. It's been a really big surprise for me, and I still think it's worth checking out. Next up, we have Aquaman Andromeda, #2, written by Ram V with artwork by Christian Ward. So now we actually get to really see Aquaman. He really wasn't really much in the first issue, but that was fine because the story needed to set up in that first issue. It really needed. So you have the crew on the special sub going down to find this spacecraft, and they find it, and they go on it, and then they find out that because Aquaman shows up, and he says, well, it's kind of a spacecraft, but not really. It is Atlantean, and it's actually, we find out it's a prison. Now, we don't know what's in there, but whatever in there looks like it's getting out or has gotten out, so it's not good, and that's why Aquaman. But I think the interesting thing that Ram V does with the story is he brings in Black Manta, and once again, Black Manta's kind of a villain, but he's also kind of more of a mercenary. So is there money involved? Is there treasure involved? We don't know, but we do know that he has spoken to one of the crew members and given him a jump drive. Now, he says that the jump drive will help them, but I have a funny feeling that's probably not going to turn out well if they use that. They probably will. We'll have to see how that goes. But we start to kind of learn about what is really going on, and how Aquaman is like, you need to get out of here. This is not good. You need to get out of here. So there's things that happen to the crew. I don't want to give too much away, but it builds so nicely on that first issue, and the story is amazing. And then you have Ward's artwork, which is just stunning. This is a gorgeous looking book. Not only is the art amazing, but his color work that goes with it just is incredible. It is a gorgeous looking book. It's a must buy. This Ram V is just knocking out of the park. He is just, that guy is firing on all cylinders. I mean, almost anything he writes now is just like, you see his name, just buy the book, He's really, every book I've read, except for I'm not a big fan of Venom, so that's probably why I'm not huge. But it was decent. I think he did a good job, but it's still Venom. But his other work, The Swamp Thing, The Many Deaths of Layla Starr, he's just knocking out of the park. He did, I believe he also did some Justice League Darks that were really good. But definitely this Aquaman Andromeda is just wonderful. It's a must buy. And then finally we have from last week, Batman Fortress #3, written by Gary Whitta with artwork by Derek Robertson. So we have found out in the last issue that these aliens who through they're scanning, they're looking for Superman, and their scanners are knocking out all the power and everything. So that's what's going on there. Superman's off. Who knows? Nobody knows where he is. Maybe he's on vacation somewhere. So Batman is, so you have these aliens that are looking for Superman. They went to Smallville. They go to Metropolis, to the Daily Pen, because they're looking for him. So Bruce contacts the Guardians, saying, hey, we need help. Superman's not here. Where's the Green Lantern? We need help. And the Guardians are like, pretty much like typical politicians. Oh, well, we can't help. There's something going on and you're on your own. Bye. And so Bruce is like, F. So then he's left to try to figure out, because the Justice League tried to go after the spaceship. It did not go well. So now he has to go talk to the president, and in this particular storyline, which is out of continuity, which is a good thing, because then they get to do whatever they want, and then what they get to do is the president of the United States is Lex Luthor. So Luthor is hiding out in Australia, and so he basically, Batman goes there and says, hey, we need to get in the Fortress of Solitude, and Lex is like, good luck with that. But I guess we will work together, and that's where we get to the storyline in this issue. I'm really digging this book. I think it's Wada's script is good, but what really is just is really selling me on this book is Derek Robertson's artwork. It is he's a brilliant artist. He's the artist from The Boys. But he's really perfect for this, because I like the fact that it's really kind of not very superheroics. I mean, it's there, the last issue did have the attack on the spacecraft, but a lot of this is just dialogue, and once again, what Robertson's really good at is emotion, just capturing the emotion, like especially the look when they basically the Guardians hang up on Bruce. It's perfect. It's absolutely perfect. It's a really fun book. I think it's worth checking out. I like when they're out of continuity, because they kind of get to do whatever they want to, and they're definitely doing whatever they want to, and they're having fun with it. So that's going to do it this week. A little bit long-winded, but I think we got through it pretty decently. I tried to go as fast as I could, but still made sure you had enough information about stuff. As always, please support your local comic shop. My local comic shop is Pulp Fiction Comics in Long Beach, California. Ryan runs a great store. There's Annie, Eduardo, there's Wendy, there's Derek. It's a great store. They offer great pull service. That's how I get all my comics. And they offer discount with the pull service. They also offer discounts on their trades and graphic novels and their manga. And that's if you live in the South Bay, Long Beach area, definitely check out the store. It's highly recommended. And if you live in the LA area, there is Pulp Fiction Culver City, run by Chris and her team. Same name, separate store. They're run separately. But Chris and her team, it's a great store. They offer discounts on trades. They have a pull service, everything. So just always make sure, please support your local comic shop. They're the backbone of the industry. They keep things, they're the lifeblood of the industry. And so just make sure you support your local comic shop, as I do. And as always, we end our show with please be kind. Being kind doesn't cost anything. Being kind to strangers or anybody is just, it will make you feel good. It'll make them feel good. And being kind is just that simple. So also, please take care of yourselves. Stay healthy. I know times are tough. Just take care of yourselves out there. Thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe, and share our YouTube videos. Comments are always welcome. Let me know if I'm missing something, or let me know, and I'll see if I'll try to get a review of it. That's going to do it for this week. Thanks for watching. This is Steven from PopCultureMaven.com signing off. Take care of yourselves, and we'll see you again next week. All right, bye-bye.